Yo, 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 what is up, y'all? It's Cone back here again tonight with another episode of After the Buzzer, and we need to talk about what just happened in the G League Ignite versus Metropolitans game. Scoot Henderson versus Victor Wembanyama. It lived up to all the hype. If you have no idea what I'm talking about because your team's probably really good and not tanking like the Thunder are, we just saw the top two draft picks in the NBA draft this upcoming year, and they're not just projected. They are going to be the top two draft picks barring some insane circumstances. Victor Wembanyama and Scoot Henderson. Victor Wembanyama is a 7'4" player. He's 18 years old. He is projected as the number one overall pick and looked at as one of the greatest prospects in NBA history. And we'll talk about him and I'll show you some of the clips about why from this game in a few minutes. There was also Scoot Henderson, who is this electric guard for the G League Ignite. He's a guy that is hyper athletic. He can knock down some shots too. And Victor right now kind of edges him out as the number one with Scoot at the two, but they are by far and away the top two guys in this draft class. And they today played against each other. Victor Wembanyama's team from France came over to play against the G League Ignite in Vegas, and it lived up to all of the hype. Like, we've seen matchups in the past where two players in college, like, they match up in the tournament or something like that, and it's supposed to be this high stakes thing, and one player way outperforms the other, or they don't really go at each other like that, and it's not much of a duel. This was one of the best, probably the best prospect duel I've ever seen. These two guys have received absolutely insane amounts of hype, and a lot of guys would kind of cower away from that or fall back into the shadow. Not these two. They came into this game ready to prove and show why they should be the number one overall pick, and it was completely electric. Let's look at their stat lines real quick. Victor Wembanyama put up 37 points on 11 of 20 shooting, 7 of 11 from 3 with 4 rebounds, and not pictured here, 5 blocks, while Scoot Henderson put up 28 points, 11 of 21 shooting, 2 of 3 from 3, 5 rebounds, and 9 assists. Just two incredible stat lines for these two in this game. So as you can see, these two guys were both dominant, so clearly the best two players on the court tonight. It wasn't even close, and it started right away with Scoot Henderson scoring a mid-range bucket right from the get-go, and they went at each other all night. But I want to talk about them individually so I can kind of go through some aspects of their games that were highlighted in this matchup and talk about what makes both of them so special. We're going to start off with Victor because he is the guy that is projected by basically everyone to go first overall, and he's my favorite player in this draft. I think him on OKC next to Chet Holmgren would be one of the greatest front courts, especially defensively, that we've seen in a very, very long time. It would be incredible to watch. I am praying to the basketball gods that he somehow ends up on the team, but regardless, in this game, he showed everything and every reason why he should be considered the first overall pick. There are some people that look at his international numbers and they don't jump off the page to you. He doesn't average like well into 20 points per game or anything because that's just not how international ball really works. Players don't score a lot like that. So he comes over here, plays against like US competition in kind of like a more NBA centered format, and he drops 37 points. He is a 7'4" guy that is shooting 11 threes and knocking down 7 of them. And they're not just like catch and shoot threes. He was doing everything from shooting off the dribble, shooting on the move. You know, there were some catch and shoot threes, but he also stepped into a lot of threes in rhythm. He made it look so easy. And probably the craziest thing about his game is the fluidity with which he does everything. Whether he's pulling up from 3, attacking you in the mid-range, driving to the basket and finishing, his arsenal of moves is just so incredible, and he is 18 years old. He's 18, so he's only going to get better and better. He's still 10 years away from his prime, and he's doing things like this. He is legitimately one of the most interesting and probably one of the best draft prospects we've ever seen. He is the definition of a generational guy. He can block shots. He can dunk on people. He's got an 8-foot wingspan, and he has like the handles of a guard in a 7'4" guy's body. You never see this. This is not a player that comes around ever. It looks like you made a 2K player, like you went on my league and just created a player to dominate the league, gave him 99 everything. He's like 7 feet tall, has the crate like Kyrie's handle package. That's what it looks like. You have a guy out there that doesn't feel like he should be possible. He's like a basketball alien. It doesn't feel like he's from this planet. Yet he is, and I'm watching him out there, especially at the end of the game. His team was down, and he's like, okay, I'm going to try and take over, and he just knocked down 3 after 3 after 3, different ways of attacking the basket, and demanding the ball too. It was clear that he wanted to show, hey, I should be that number one prospect, and while his team lost, he was the best player on the court tonight. He was incredible. He did everything for his team defensively, offensively. There's nothing that Victor Wembanyama can do. He doesn't really have many weaknesses in his game at an 18-year-old. Like, probably the weakest thing is he's got like a thin frame, but it doesn't even matter when he has an 8-foot wingspan. He can just block you by like standing and just putting his arm up like that. It's incredible what he's capable of. And there are going to be some ridiculous things that are done in the name of tanking to try and get a player like him. Like, we are going to see some of the craziest tanking we've ever seen to get a guy like Victor, what he can bring to the table. He is the definition of generational. And I know that word is thrown around a lot, but when we're talking about Victor Wembanyama, he is generational. I can assure you he's going to be a player that both can win. He probably will win an MVP and a Defensive Player of the Year in his career. He's going to be a Hall of Famer. I will say it right now. I know it is very early on, but the skills that he has shown, unless there's like some injury concerns or something like that, which fingers crossed there isn't, because you never want to see a guy get hurt. But as long as he stays healthy, he is on a future Hall of Fame path, in my opinion. It's just, I cannot picture him failing. He is so incredible. One of the most talented young players I've ever seen. And he went out on the biggest stage he's ever played on. He even admitted that this was probably the biggest game that he's ever played in an interview later. And he stepped up to the occasion, looked the part of a #1 overall pick, and I really don't think there's any way you can question how good he is now. I know there were some people that are always going to question like overseas prospects because they just don't know ball like that, but Victor Wembanyama is the real deal. He is going to dominate the league when he gets there. The league should be very scared, and he's going to change the game of basketball. We've seen so long these like incredibly tall players, guys like Kevin Durant that can move and shoot like guards and, you know, change the game like that. And you also have these like high-level defenders that are super mobile at the big man position. Victor Wembanyama is like the culmination of both of those movements, where you see this 7-footer that plays like a guard, can shoot lights out, and can defend the rim with ease. He's mobile. He can do literally everything. He's going to be the best player in the world someday. I have no doubt in my mind. And then you've got Scoot Henderson. And I know I talked a lot about Victor there, but we cannot discount what Scoot did in this game either. Scoot came into this too. He probably knows he's looked at by most people as that 2nd overall guy, but he truly believes he should be the #1 overall pick. And he came out to prove it, doing things like throwing dimes around. Like I mentioned, he hit some mid-range jumpers, pull-up threes. But really what showed to me is his athleticism and his ability to handle the basketball. He has ridiculous handles. There was one play in particular that I'm going to flash a clip of now where I don't even know how he did it. He did like a behind the back, then like a between the legs, and went up and over the outstretched arm. Once again, the 8-foot wingspan of Victor Wembanyama at the rim to finish the reverse layup. It was incredible. He had this other play off the dribble that he finished around the rim. He did a bit of everything. It was incredible to watch him play. And I've seen a bit more of Victor than I have of Scoot, so it was cool to see him in this environment. And he didn't shy away from the challenge at all. A lot of players would see a guy like Victor at the rim and be like, okay, I'm not going to challenge him. Scoot did, and he did get blocked one time in particular towards the end of the game, but he continued to attack. He never gave up. He was relentless, going right at him. He is a fearless guy, and there are some people talking on Twitter about what his comparison is and stuff like that. I saw someone mention Derrick Rose, which I could see a little bit of D-Rose in him with the athleticism, the burst, the speed, but he's also like a solid shooter, which Rose wasn't entering the league. You know, he's got probably a better handle maybe than Derrick Rose at this point. It's just incredible, and he is also less than 20 years old. Like, he was dominating the G League last year, but he wasn't old enough to enter the league, so he had to do it again this year. He probably could have come into the draft last year and been a top 5, top 3 pick in this draft. He's that special. And now he's going to get another year of refinement, enter the league. And him and Victor are forever going to be tied together, not just because of this game, but because of their skill level, because they're going to go as the top 2 guys in this draft. They're forever going to be looked at as tied together. And the best part is we get to see these two play each other again in, I think it's tomorrow or another day, whatever. They play again very, very soon. And so we're going to get to see these guys match up again, which I absolutely cannot wait for. I'm so excited for this upcoming draft cycle, not just because the Thunder are probably going to have one of the highest picks, but because I want to see these two guys play in NBA games, play in those high level scenarios, and I'm just super excited that we got the chance to see them here. This duel lived up to all of the hype. They're two of the best prospects I've ever seen with my own eyes. I can't believe they're in the same draft, and probably the craziest part is that I cannot believe one of them has to go number 2. That's ridiculous that a team could get the 2nd overall pick and end up with Victor Wembanyama or Scoot Henderson. It is absolutely absurd to me. I cannot believe they're in the same draft. There's also a lot of other great players in this draft too, guys like the Thompson twins. You've got Nick Smith, Dariq Whitehead, Cam Whitmore. There's just so many great players in this draft, and having these two at the top already is going to make it a historic one. But this is going to go down as one of the best drafts in recent history, in particular because of these two guys, but because of a lot of the depth that goes along with that. If you can't tell, I like the draft a lot, especially more recently, with the Thunder being kind of a rebuilding team. It's so fun to watch, and this duel lived up to all of the hype. Really exciting basketball, one of the most entertaining non-NBA finals games or playoff games I've ever watched. There are also some preseason games we can cover real quick. Zion Williamson and the Pelicans faced off against the Bulls. Zion looked incredible in his return to NBA action in about a year. He's going to dominate the league this season. I have no doubt he's going to be incredible, and I can't wait to see what he brings to the table. Looked phenomenal tonight. If he plays anything like he did tonight for the course of a season, he's going to be in all-NBA conversations for sure, and at this point, I'd be surprised if he doesn't make it. The Pistons and Knicks played against each other too. Jalen Brunson looked really good as a Knick. RJ Barrett also played pretty solid as well. Jaden Ivey really showing out. Can't wait to see him and Cade Cunningham play in that backcourt together. We also had the Heat versus the Timberwolves, where Bam Adebayo was being aggressive. He even took a three, which he made. I hope he keeps playing like this, because if he does, it makes the Heat so much more entertaining to watch, and it feels like sometimes Bam Adebayo forgets that he is Bam Adebayo, how talented he is, how skilled he is. I hope that he continues to be aggressive and play the way that he has in this early action. If he does, then the Heat are going to become way scarier. Anthony Edwards looks ready to make that leap too, coming from that game. And then finally, there was the Jazz versus the Trailblazers, which honestly, I don't have much to say about that. I talked a bit about the Blazers last time. Jordan Clarkson looked good. I think he's going to get traded probably for a first-round pick to a contender at some point this season and really help them out. I like the idea of him being on the Suns or the Bucks, teams that could use that spark plug off the bench, so keep an eye on that. But I think that's everything that happened in the NBA tonight. Scoot versus Victor really was the big highlight. That's what most people were talking about. But shout out to Zion Williamson for making his return too, and every team that played tonight. If there were any takeaways from your team's games that I missed, go ahead and let me know in the comment section below. I'd love to hear what y'all have to say. Please leave a like and subscribe if you enjoyed. I really enjoy making these videos for y'all, and it means the world to me how much y'all have shown support on the last few videos. The last After the Buzzer video was my best performing video in the first couple hours of all time. I cannot believe how quickly it popped off. So thank you guys so much for watching them. If you keep watching them, I'll keep making them. I really appreciate y'all. I'll see y'all later. Real one, say it back.